Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to yet another epic episode of the Grounded and Fearless podcast with your host, myself, Nnaishi Monyeki. And on today's show, I have a very special one for you. We have a published author on the show, a good friend of mine, Mr. Tokelo Hlagala. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for blessing us with your presence on Grounded and Fearless.
No, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's a long-awaited episode that I've been wanting to do with, with this brother of mine here.
Yeah, no, I am happy to be here, sir.
Yeah. I know you. Yes, as I mentioned, you're a good friend of mine. Would you just give the audience and the viewers, a brief introduction and just tell us about yourself?
Whew. That's always a tough question.
Yeah,
it feels like a date. So tell me about yourself.
Yeah, I know. You must give me the information so I can decide, is there a second date?
Yeah.
Or like a second interview?
So yeah, it's a very tough question. So yeah, man, the name is Tokelo Hlagala. I think from the same name you can tell that I'm from Limpopo.
Yeah.
Yeah, born in Limpopo but grew up in Pretoria, Mamelodi for specifics.
Right.
And yeah, part of what I do, I'm a storyteller.
Yes.
I'm a writer. All of them self-taught.
Oh,
and yeah, and then I run a publishing company called Afrocentric Media, which is an organization or a company that deals with publishing and a whole host of things within the education space in terms of programs development, facilitation, and all manner of things in the name of education.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah, I think
that's you in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's the summary. We'll go deeper as we go deeper.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I see. Yeah, thank you to Afrocentric for hosting us in this beautiful space that you guys have here. It's very, very beautiful. While you do a lot of things, man, I must say I'm impressed.
We'll try.
From as a mutual friend of ours likes to say, from Mamelodi to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, from someone who say like it's very encouraging to know that all of these things you said self-taught. It's basically some of those things that if you want to do something, then you shouldn't always look for others to help you, but you must start helping yourself as well.
True.
Find your own niche and find what you like, and
yeah,
especially in today's world where there's YouTube, there's the internet. It's easy to learn a lot of skills that obviously there's some things like you cannot learn to be a doctor at home.
Yeah,
but then, there's a lot of other skills and
a lot
things you can learn at home with the opportunities out that are available in this new world and the society we live in that is advancing so much.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, no, man. Big ups on that.
No, thanks.
You're doing a lot of great things,
It's a tough journey, but we are here.
Yeah, we are here and we're moving, Chief. You're not stagnant.
No, yeah. That's the goal.
And as you mentioned now that you are a writer, and I also mentioned you're a public author of the book Poor Folks, which is it's an amazing book.
Yeah. No,
when I was reading it, I was like, I can't believe I know this man. I always look at artists in awe. 'Cause I'm like, even when you watch a good movie and you read a good book and you see a good piece of art, I always think, I'm like, there's someone who sat down somewhere and thought of this thing and brought it to life. So I think art is a beautiful thing. And in the book Poor Folks, which we'll get into more details as we go along, I just want to touch on the whole aspect of getting to know you better. So Poor Folks is an anthology of 4 short stories. And then at the back of the book, at the section that says about the author.
Yeah. And it's very short.
It's very short, one sentence. And I was like, it says, Tokelo is a student of the human condition.
Yes, sir.
What would you say is how would you define the human condition since you are like a student of that topic?
Yeah, I mean, for me, throughout my journey of life, of being a creative, of being an entrepreneur, I think fundamentally what I've come to realize is that I've just been studying myself. Even when it comes to the book is a work of fiction, but I like to tell people that no, the book is not necessarily fiction, but it's just exaggerated reality.
True.
Because some of these things are lived experiences. Some of these things I see in the people around me and my friends and all of those things. So I think it goes back to also the reason why I wrote this book, to say, why did I write this book? And I think it goes on, to show that there's certain topics in humanity that bother me for whatever reasons. And so I think I'm continuously trying to understand, why did something that you said bother me? Why did something that you say amaze me, and all of those things? So I think fundamentally I'm studying my emotions and the emotions of people around me, and the day-to-day things that we engage with, to say that thing matters to me, that one doesn't. Why? So I'm essentially studying why. Why not? Why not? So I'm fascinated around why people do things, and I'm fascinated about why I do things and why I don't do things, and essentially my ideologies on life, to say, where do they come from? Because I believe that I'm a collection of the experiences that I've been through in life, and all of those things have shaped my human experience, or my experience with life and humanity and people and all of those things. So I think through my writing, I'm just studying random things that I find interesting. I'm like, that's interesting. Why is it interesting? So I'll call that the human condition, it's the journey of becoming human.
That's well explained, I must say. And you personalize it yourself. I'm a big fan of defining things and having your own understanding of things. The same with success. There's no one definition for success.
True.
You need to have your own definition, because it means different things, and even basic terminologies, like there's this one podcast that I watched of impact theory. Tom Bilyeu. And you're speaking of how you need to define certain things, and different things can have certain meanings. That's why I say I like your definition, that you have your own understanding of the human condition, and you explain it well, that I sitting here can understand exactly what you're trying to say, not explaining, which is quite beautiful. I like that. Understanding why certain things affect us the way that they do. It's like going through a journey. It's like going through constantly a journey of self-awareness.
True.
Self-development, and see where you where you get affected, or where you're not getting affected, your weaknesses and your strength.
True.
That is quite amazing. And you mentioned now that your stories that you wrote in the book, you don't want people to see them as fiction, but exaggerated reality. Which is a theme that I came across as I was reading, especially like all of the books. I mean, all of the stories in the book are amazing in their own facets, in their own little way. But the theme that you're saying is an exaggerated reality. I did get that, especially in the last two books. I don't know why those two books came right in me. I was reading and I was like, yo. I was like, even though this is a fiction narrative that I just read, it's someone else's reality out there. That's true. That's the possibility that you can get, that this is actually there is someone out there who's living in this reality that I just read now. And that was something. This book is really amazing. And I like how you managed to put your reader into the shoes of the characters. I think that's one thing I commend you on in the books, in the stories that are in the book. So now going back to the book, the title "Poor Folks." Why the specific title, and what is a poor folk?
That's a tough question. It's a tough question because I think on the surface level, when you read the book, it's easy to say, the book speaks about poverty from a lack of financial, security and all of those things. But I think after I wrote the book and was reading the book, trying to find the title, there was a part of me that began to see certain themes under the surface, to say, poverty is what we see on the surface, but beneath the surface, what is poverty depriving these people? And then you realize that, actually it's depriving them of a proper family structure. It's depriving them of friendships.
Yeah.
You know, so instead of coming up with a title that says something poverty, for me, poor folks sort of had definitions below the surface to say poor doesn't necessarily mean you don't have money.
Yeah.
But it means there's certain things in life you don't have. You know, those are some of the things such as, you know, friendships, you know, love, a sense of belongingness and all of those things. So, yeah, for me, poverty was the surface theme, but underneath I'm like,
that.
Yeah, the only reason that we would need money is because we want this security, we want a sense of belongingness, self-awareness and all of those things. Those are some of the things that finances can allow you to get. You know, so for me saying poor folks, it sort of was me illuminating that there's a variety of things these people are poor from, you know, affection and what so not. And if you look at the book, it's actually poor folk and poor folks at the same time.
That.
You know, so the poor folk, it's the individual character in each and every story. And then the poor folks, as you see it after the slash, there's an S. It's sort of a culmination of everyone in the book, you know, because all of them are struggling with some sort of poverty.
Yeah, like a lack in some way of another.
Lack
of affection.
Exactly.
Finances,
so, I didn't want to make
friendships, whatever.
a book about poverty and poverty money-wise, but poverty from a holistic perspective, to say there's various areas in life that these people seem to lack. So it's poor from those, you know, different angles.
No, I like that. It's like you when you're saying you don't want to limit poverty to finances. Because that's what we always jump to the conclusion. Someone says someone's poor, you always think of financial means to do certain things or financial lack.
And then you find rich people committing suicide. You're like, he was poor in some way. He had the wealth in terms of the money, but for the fact that he got to a point where he took his own life, it means there's a certain level of poverty in other areas of life. It could be friendships, affection, and whatsoever.
That is a good point. I was also thinking, like, you know, sometimes I always associated poverty or being poor is also a mindset that you can have. That you have a poor mindset, not necessarily that you are poor, but it's just the look, the mindset you have in your approach to life, in your approach to relationships, and how you see the world can be a poor one, and then that in fact does have a negative impact in your life as well.
Which is it's also tricky, you know, because I remember I had the same conversation when I had an interview with Bra Aubrey on 702, and we had this whole conversation around what is prosperity, what is poverty. You know, because sometimes from the outside you can look at me and say, wow, that guy is poor. You know, or you can look at someone and say, wow, that guy is, you know, prosperous and what so not. And then you get to realize that, actually his view of prosperity is not the same one that you have. As much as he's driving that car, he's aspiring for something bigger. As much as he's got this house, he's aspiring for something bigger. So I think it goes back to what you and I were talking about, I think earlier on, when we said, you know, it's an individual thing. You know, and it's very important for each and everyone to define their own idea of, if someone says I'm poor, am I poor? In whose standards?
In whose standards am I poor?
You know, if someone says I'm rich, in whose standards? You know, so it's a tricky conversation. It's because it's very individualistic.
It when you think about it, you know, human beings are social creatures. But then a big part of our, I would say, human experience has an element of individualism in it. Like when you're speaking about being poor, being rich, on whose standards? It's the same thing with, you know, a simple thing as academics. For one student getting a 65, it's a party.
That's like,
for one student's getting 80, it's like, why not 90? And then that's a bad performance. But they wrote the same test. But you know, is that individual experience and what you interpret and your standards. And I think it's a good life lesson to learn that, you know, you need to have your own standard and your own principles and values, and know what matters to you as an individual, and know what goals that you want to do. Like you can't look at me and say, well, Nnaishi got 65 and I got 64, so we are okay.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. We have different goals.
It's not a group assignment.
Yeah.
This life thing.
I mean, if I get 60 and then I can get 65 and I'm fine. You want to do medicine.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do medicine. It's not the same thing.
It's not the same,
It's always nice to have your own standards and say, this is for what I want and this for me is what success is getting 85 and not 80. And then going by the accepted norms or the standards of society. You know?
Yeah.
So I also think personally, I don't think, living up to the standards of society, I don't think it's, I don't know if you, from your experience, I don't think it's possible because society always changes its mind. Like,
it's not.
The standards are, but if you have your own understanding and your values and, priorities that you have, that I guess points you in the right direction and points back to that topic of the human condition and knowing that, having that self-awareness, self-reflection journey as well as you go through life.
True.
And then on the book, in the first two stories, like you were saying, there is the theme of like poverty that is sort of seen in the book as well.
Yeah. Throughout
the 4 stories. The first 2 stories, from when I was reading it, you can help me and tell me if I was getting the right idea or the message you were trying to portray in this book. There's these 2 questions that I have. So the first 2 stories was this idea of like, coming from unprivileged backgrounds and now you want to do better for yourself and for your family. And it took me back like to one Simon Sinek has this idea of like finding your why and that really motivates you to get going and I found that theme sort of strong in the first 2 books where you had these 2 characters that were from poor backgrounds and then they were in pursuit of something which was a better life for themselves. I don't want to dive into detail because I feel like I won't be able to control myself and I'm going to spoil the things for those who haven't read the book. But basically, to cut to the question that I have is that, the finding your why. We have the one character in one of the stories where his unprivileged background pushed him to study further, to do well in school. But then there was a challenge at the end. And then there was one that had something similar, but then he made it and he was successful. So now the question that I have is, we all need to find a why, and I think that is important. But then do you think now, from your personal experience and understanding, in life, there is that having that why, right? But do you think there's an element of like luck or, how can I say, element of luck or an unfair advantage that plays a role in the success of someone else, where they both had reasonably good whys on why they wanted to be success, but they both never had the same fortune in the end?
I mean, that's a good question because it's a tough question. The whole thing of unfair advantage, because I think usually when we look or when we speak about unfair advantages, we typically look at it from maybe a financial perspective to say you came from a good family and that's why you're able to make it. Whereas there's people who come from families such as yours who didn't make it. And now I think when you look at the 2 stories, especially story number 1, I think over and above trying to communicate some of the issues that we have as a country in terms of unemployment, I think I wanted to illustrate how, where we come from shapes our aspirations. It shapes our dreams.
True.
Because you look at the one character in story number 1 where his whole identity has been built around even the views of the mother, when the mother was like, my child, I'm sending you to school because you're going to be the Moses of our family. You're going to deliver us to the promised land. So it shows you how his aspirations and dreams don't really matter much, but he's focused on becoming what the mother
expects of
him. Given where they come from. And I think it speaks about, the burden that we carry from our families, because now this character, the mother says, this is the last money we have from your father after he passed away. It's the only money we have.
Yeah.
So we're gonna send you to school.
That's a big burden to carry.
And once you pass, you're gonna get employment and you're gonna deliver us to the promised land.
Yeah.
Now, that's a very heavy burden for anyone to carry.
Yeah.
And so when you look at even the monologues and the self-convincing that the guy has, they are surrounding him and the relationship with the mother and the family and whatsoever. I think there's a point where he says he hasn't gone home in the longest of time or hasn't spoken to the family whatsoever because he feels like he's failing the family.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the prevailing themes in story number one that I wanted to illuminate, to say, especially when we're speaking about your black text and whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's a wide phenomenon given the history of black people in this country and being deprived, prosperity for the longest of time. So now, if you are the first one to graduate, you are the one who's going to carry the burden of the whole lineage.
Everyone who follows after that one.
So it's part of what you realize with this character, to say he's carrying the burden of his whole lineage. To say, if I don't make it, and everyone around me or behind me will not make it.
Yeah.
So I think
why, what?
Yeah, so that's his deep, desire to say, let me make it out of this and help them out. So he's focusing on the family aspect of it. And then now you look at story number 2 of the boy. It goes to the unfair advantage that we speak of, to say sometimes the advantage you have is coming from lack.
Yeah.
Because that gives you drive.
It does.
So you look at that character in story number 2 to say his poverty and all of those things are the key things that drove him to attain the success that he did.
Yeah.
So now it questions the thing of saying, does financial privilege give you an advantage?
Oh, no.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Because sometimes it strips you of willpower. Oh, I don't have to.
Yeah, we are well off.
To do
we have
much.
Everything we need.
So I think story number 2, out of all the stories, it's a story of redemption. And I think I ended it the way I ended because when you read the book throughout, there's a lot of sadness and all of those things. So you leave the book very depressed.
That will be at the end of the book. I'm like,
especially the last one, yeah. So maybe I should have put the second story towards the end.
Then you have that.
At least you. But yeah, when you read story number 2, because you will see that I closed with a quote from one of my favorite writers, Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah.
In a book called Thus Speaks Zarathustra. It's a philosophy book.
Okay.
So in that book, he says one must have chaos in life to give birth to a shining star. So I think that's one of the quotes that I've held most dearest to my heart.
Yeah.
I think that's propelled me in many areas of life. And how I view that quote, it has a redemption element to it, because it says, you've got to be in darkness to shine the brightest.
Speaking bars. Yeah.
That's how maybe someone can break it down.
Yeah.
So it's the idea that if you are in an unfortunate situation or whatsoever, that can give you willpower to want to, come out of that situation. So I think for me, that's one of the quotes that I read that quote when I was in maybe varsity, first year, second year.
Yeah.
And it stayed with me for the longest of time.
Yeah.
To say, actually, this chaos that I'm within can actually build me up for something. So when I finished writing that story, it came to mind randomly. So I was like, no, this is a proper full stop. And then I put that line at the very end.
Yeah.
Because, I feel like most of our people are there in that darkness. So throughout the other stories, I'm showing how dark and gloomy it is. But with that one, I'm saying, even in this darkness, something beautiful can come. I think there's is it a song by Tupac? Or is it a book? Or it's something where Tupac says, out of concrete, who knew a flower would bloom?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can see a pavement.
And
then you see a flower growing there. Then you're wondering, how?
Against one of those, against all odds.
Yeah. We shouldn't be having that. We should be having a proper opportunities, all of us, but we don't. And now that we don't, what's the redemption story that we can tell ourselves in order to, move to the other side? And I think that's why when you look at even in movie production, there's this theme called From Rags to Riches.
Yeah.
Where the character in the beginning is suffering and whatsoever. And then in the end, everything works out.
Yeah.
You know, so you can see even those stories, when you look at television and movie production, they sell.
There's a redemption.
Because we are looking for that redemptive story
moment.
to say, oh, actually, he's made it out of...
Yeah.
Okay, I can also make it. So it's that relatability element to it.
That is amazing. It reminds me of a quote that I once wrote, like, probably when I studied.
Yeah.
I think it was early high school, grade 8, 9. I wrote on Facebook.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I really understood the depth of the quote. It was I don't know whose quote it was, but it was like, you know, feed me to the wolves and I'll return leading the pack.
Yeah. It's not always true, but it can be true.
Can be true.
If you believe it, yeah.
Yeah, this thing, like against all odds, though, you just chucked me out and then I came back, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is one of the quotes that I wrote.
And
but
then,
yeah.
I think you also see it even in how some brands sell their ideas.
Yeah.
You look at Nike, it's essentially telling us the same story.
Yeah.
You look at how they do their ads and everything. They look at your Caster Semenya, your Wayne van Niekerk,
yeah,
you know, against all odds type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so they are selling us the idea that, oh, actually, this brand, through this brand, I can...
You can, you know...
go against the odds and prosper. So you
can just
you
do
even
it.
see it in marketing, it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, in many brands, you see it. Oh, actually, the Rags to Riches story sells. You look at your Drip, you look at your Batu,
like that.
And what's or not. That's the narrative. So even in my creative journey, that's, you know, one of the things that I'm looking at.
But yeah, I mean, it's a good... I think everyone likes a good redemption story.
Good story.
Yeah, I mean...
A good story sells.
I think even in life, like, there's a lot of things happening in the world, and it's nice to see some people win. You know, it's nice to see positive things happening in the world and to other people as well.
Yeah, so I think a good story does sell. I think I remember... towards the closing of Game of Thrones, I'm not sure if you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen
when
it.
They are trying to look for someone who's going to lead the kingdoms, right at the very end.
Yeah,
and then I think it's Tyrion Lannister who says, the people want a good story.
Yes, he does say that. And then he, says,
and then he speaks about...
And then he creates the story what's it? Stark boy brand.
Yeah, the one who broke his back or something like that. So you look at it throughout time, people have been looking for that. Even... You look at Christianity, you look at the story of Daniel, you know, in the lion's den, there's David and Goliath. You know, those are the stories that
actually...
Yeah, we look out for
look
those.
At those and like, this is the story that I can put my hope in and stuff.
Yeah, because they inspire us to, go against the grain and see what can happen.
That is very true, actually. And then, now that we're on the topic of ending stories, I mustn't forget the other question that I have.
Yeah.
Your other stories, I don't know if you've seen or read the book The Fault in Our Stars.
No, I haven't.
Okay. So basically, if I remember correctly, these two teenagers, they both have cancer and then they fall in love. I watched the movie, not read the book. But in the movie, there is a book that the girl introduces the boy to. Okay. And then they basically, he reads the book and he also loves the book. It's one of those things that I don't read these kind of stories.
Yeah.
I think it was a fiction novel or something like that. Okay. But then the ending of that book in the movie they did not like. So then there's a part of the story of the movie where the boy uses, I think when you have cancer you have this thing, the genies that they give you a wish, and then they visit the author of the book basically, and then they just ask him, how, like, what happened at the end of the book. So he ended the book, but then with a question mark. Like, they were like, what happened to this character? What happened to this guy? What happened to this guy? So, but then it didn't end well in the book. So it's basically that whole theme was in the movie was like more of one of those don't meet your heroes. That's what happened with the two kids and the author of the book. But now my question is, when I read the stories here in Poor Folks, the endings, I think for most of them, leaving us with question marks. I'm like, what's happening from here? Is that something you've received from other people when they've read the book and be like, your endings to these stories is open to interpretation, and then people are like, you leave us wanting more. Yeah. Because you don't say...
There's no conclusion.
Yeah, like a conclusive ending, like...
Happily ever after.
None of that.
Yeah.
Was that intentional? And
I'm not sure. So, funny thing, so I used to run this book club at one of the schools. And then part of what we were reading was the book. And so I remember this other day, the learners came to me. I think it was like 8 of them. They're like, "Sir, we are not happy with you. We are not happy." I'm like, "What's wrong?"
Yeah.
But we don't like the endings in the book.
Yeah, I know those endings. I resonate with them.
So, but I think for me, it wasn't intentional. I think writing takes a shape of its own. I'll tell you, even the beginning of some of the stories, I actually wrote them in the end.
Yeah.
When you read Intersections, that opening paragraph or 2 paragraphs, actually I wrote those just a few days before publication. So it's something that I can't explain to say I plan to have a sad ending or a happy ending. It just so happens through the creative journey to say, oh, okay, this makes sense, this makes sense, this makes sense. So it wasn't something that I planned, to say this is how they're gonna end. And so, but even now, for me, the characters are still alive in my head, and there's a part of me that's always thinking about some of the characters to say, but then what happened to that guy? Because I also don't know. I'm wondering to say, in story number 1, the closing of story number 1, it's the lady knocking on the door, the landlord.
Yeah, so now we don't know
what happened. Did he chase out? Did they fight? What happened? So I think even for me, many of these characters still live in my head. Even the bystanders in the story, maybe
they have their own stories
that came once and spoke like 4 sentences.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think about them. I'm like, what is his human condition? What became of him? So I think that's something that's constantly in my head. I'm not sure if there's going to be a sequel to these stories. I think they should, but I don't know if the creative powers, overcome me. Maybe I might deliver something, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm rooting for those creative powers to flood you, and then you can bless us with the...
I hope they'll come.
Yeah, I like now when you're saying that the ending can sometimes, like the beginning can come at the end, and story number 2. There's also how I was interpreting, like the theme that I also got.
Yeah,
like the way you started story number 2 was this character who's telling us his life story of where he comes from.
Yeah.
And he starts off where he's alone in a fancy restaurant, having a fancy meal.
Yeah.
And reflecting back on his life.
Flashbacks,
story. So I think now that you mentioned that it's all of a creative journey, the question that I also had is like, was it intentional for you to start the book like that? Because it was like a thing of, when you make it in life, the less crowded, I guess. We only have the top 1%. You never hear of the top 90. Where as you move up in success and the ladder of success, I guess it gets lonelier, if that's a word I can use. Where was that like the theme that you were trying to get to say that the more you make it, the less people
Nah, not intentionally, intentionally, because even that part that you mentioned came when I was done with the story. So essentially how the story began is, it was a story of this young boy, forever at school, struggling how he was struggling there at school. Then ultimately, he made it. So even now, the beginning of the story, the very first line in the story came long after I was done.
Okay.
I was like, okay, maybe this is a reflection. That's when I put the first line. And then that's when I went on to put the last quotation and stuff. It's a mess. I think if I explain the creative process, it doesn't even make sense, because I start here, then I finish. I'm like, no, let me go back to paragraph number 1 or the middle paragraph. Then I'm like, there's more depth here. Then from one line, I can write like 7 paragraphs.
Sure.
So it's not even something that I can say when I'm writing, I'm gonna do, what's this thing? A mind map.
A mind map.
I'm gonna do a mind map.
Because that's how we were taught
and
in school.
Then,
you do brainstorm,
then I'm gonna follow
mind
these
map,
things.
and then
it doesn't work. Even for me, when I was in high school, the mind map came long after I was done writing the essay. It never worked. Yeah. So even in my journey of writing, I hardly follow any processes or procedures. I'm like, I'm gonna sit here and write
whatever, and then you just...
So I think even the fact that he was alone, I think there was a part of me that wanted this guy to reflect. Because it's easier to reflect when you're alone
than in company.
And he's at a restaurant in a high rooftop somewhere, looking at everything below him.
Yeah, basically.
So like, even that is like, I'm up here now, literally up.
I'm that guy.
I'm literally up, and I've made it in life, and I've overcome whatever I've overcome. Now I'm reflecting to say, did where I come from, the poverty and the struggle that I've experienced, are these the things that made me arrive where I am?
Yeah.
So he's questioning his motivations in life to say, was poverty my driving factor? Another thing, another theme that you find in that story is the theme of how sometimes when the thing you use for your survival can become the thing you're good at.
Yes.
Because him playing that soccer during that time, that was a survival mechanism.
Yeah, but he obviously in that time he
didn't think I want to be the greatest. It
was just the thing that
I'm gonna do that for this 40 minutes.
It's my escape.
Yeah, it's a survival mechanism of which it's personal to me, because even for me, writing has been that.
Yeah.
When I was young and couldn't make sense of the world, I'll take my notebook and then go write. Make sense of the world.
Nice.
I didn't want to become a writer per se, but back then, diary and journaling was like my safe space. It was a survival mechanism. But then over time, I'm like, no, man.
This thing can be...
I'm good in this thing. Then I started to do this thing here and there.
Yeah.
I'm like, perhaps there's something here. So it shows that sometimes your survival mechanisms become the things you're good at. There's a theory by Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours theory.
10,000 hours, yes.
Because you are surviving, you put 10,000 hours into your survival mechanism.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to be good at this thing.
Yeah, that is true. And this... the survival mechanism and putting the hours in. There's this idea that I once came across. I'm not sure where it was, if it was a podcast episode or something I was reading, where it was said that people are always looking for passion and things that they want to do, but then the idea was that passion can be built.
True.
And then they said, if you find something, you put enough work into that something, and you start getting good at it, then you can develop passion for that thing because you put in the hours. It's now easy for you to do it. So you can build passion and become passionate about something. So I think that when you speak of that survival mechanism where you put in the hours
subconsciously,
then one day later on you realize that
actually
this thing,
I can do this thing without thinking.
Yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I think, where did it stem from? I don't know, I've just always done it.
I've always been good. Actually, you haven't been good. You've been doing this thing, but not
time.
Intentionally saying, no, I want to learn how to do this thing. Because even for me, my writing came from reading.
Yes.
I was in primary reading your Seximda, Basic Head. But my grade 5, 6.
Yeah.
Reading your Shakespeare in grade 5, 6.
Reading things, man.
Because part of me is, I was a very shy individual when I was growing up. So part of me reading also was a thing of, I wanted to find answers to life and know who I should be.
Yeah.
So it was the whole question of who am I? Particularly because when I was in grade 2, I was studying in Limpopo. Grade 3, I moved to Pretoria.
Yeah.
It's a new environment.
Big change.
Different culture, different language. I'm like,
fast paced. Things are different, man.
Yeah, what's happening here? So even me, literature has been that thing that I've used to find answers to life and who to be. So through reading, I was like, actually, I understand why this character is behaving like this. So even now when I'm writing, it's all of those things that I learned subconsciously when I was much younger. Yeah.
You read different styles, different approaches, different ways of portraying ideas and telling stories.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I want to go back to the idea of how our upbringing in our past, shapes who we are today, and those things do play a role. I always say that obviously in life you do make mistakes and do certain things. The important thing is learning from your mistakes. But I always say, if I wouldn't change anything from my past, because everything that happened, the mistakes, the good things, the bad, whatever, brought me here. I wouldn't be the same person that I am today if there was something different back then. So now the question that I have is, what do you think, or what would you say is the greatest thief of life? Is it looking too far ahead, like, you know, or staying behind in the things of the past?
That's a tough question, because both of them seem right. Both of them seem right, you know. But I think it's a mixture of the two. I think it's a mixture of the two, because if you stay too connected to the past use, you can't evolve into a different version of you. And also, if you look too far ahead, you might miss
what's happening,
some of the opportunities that are here. To say, for example, I want to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, sometimes there's like other things around you that you could be doing. So I think both of them, you know, being too trapped in the past, you know, deprives you of seeing the moment and the blessings that you are having at this moment. You know, also looking too far ahead can be depressing, especially for me, because I'm looking from a business perspective. To say, you see, at this moment, if I knew all the things that I know about entrepreneurship, I would have gone the different route
back then. So now you think,
you know,
I would be here now if I did this back then.
If I knew all the things that I knew now about books and writing, I wouldn't have done this. You know, I wouldn't have taken this journey, because I would have said, I have to understand 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. How will I understand this thing? You know, and now I think one of the beauties of life is that as you go through life, the answers come. You know, the answers, you find them or they find you.
True.
But something happens when you're in motion, to say, you attract, you dispel, you get the answers, you get the wrong ones, you learn. So, I think fundamentally every experience, you know, matters in our life. There's a quote, I forgot by who, but some American writer. And I usually use this when I want to do something and I don't have the answers, or I don't know how. And he says, be bold and courageous, and mighty forces will come to your aid. So essentially he's saying, you know, be courageous and start the journey of writing that book. Somewhere, somehow, there's going to be people who want to come into your life and say, hey, I saw 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, I run a publishing house. Can I publish your book? You know, because these are some of the things that have happened to me. And these are some of the things that have happened with the people that I've met. Where you meet a young man, it's like, I love writing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't know who to go to. You know, sometimes we take them and we mentor them in their writing, whatever the case is. The same thing in business, you meet mentors, you meet mentees. But if you've never been on that journey, you wouldn't have found these people. You know, if you sit there and say, let me do a SWOT analysis, let me do a marketing plan. You know, and it's the funny thing that I've realized with marketing, especially in our business, to say many of the great opportunities that have come to our business are not things that I could have put on a marketing plan.
It's just,
you know, I was maybe working somewhere, then I had my book, someone conversation. I do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Can you come and speak? You know, how much do you charge? And then, you know, all of those things. Yes, we've got a marketing approach, but there's other things in life, forces that you can't explain.
They are active, they are out there.
They are working on your behalf. Some are working against you. So it's
one of those. I think it goes back to that unfair advantage as well. That these forces that we cannot explain. But I think the big lesson here is always be on the move and be ready for those opportunities. You don't want the opportunities to come and then you haven't done anything.
There's no manuscript that we can help you publish.
Like, where do
it's
we
still an
start?
idea. No, I have an idea for a book. Where is it? We can't edit your idea. Give us something. But if you have it, we can say, okay, let's see.
Like you meet someone like, yo, I'm in a rush somewhere, but if you give me something now, I can read it on my way to the
on
airport.
The chain.
You know.
So
and the biggest hurdle is getting started. That initial first step is always a big one that people, you know, I think we all struggle with.
Yeah, true.
I think for me, there's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at some of the decisions that I make and some of the things that I do. I wouldn't say that it can be an advantage and a disadvantage at the same time. You know, your SWOT analysis, all those things. I usually see myself as, you want to learn how to swim, I'm going to jump into the deep side. And then like, hey, you can drown.
You can drown, chief.
So I think those are like the disadvantages that I would have with my approach with certain things in life, where I'm just like, this is what I want to do. Where do I start? How do I win? Boom. And then I figure it out as I go. And that has helped me, get started and then improve as things go. Yeah. And always being a student, always learning. Yeah. One thing I always tell myself, I need to always remind myself, one of my values is that, always be humble. You can never, you can never know enough of something.
True.
Yeah. And I think that mindset keeps me in a place where I can know that I need to learn. I can always learn from someone. Yeah. Because I can always like, okay, this business thing, I think it's gonna be a good business.
Yeah.
I know nothing about running a business, but I'm starting that business, and then 1 year later, I hear, did you find your tax returns? I'm like, what's that? I'm already in business. but that's how I learn best. Yeah. I think that's one thing that I realized. Then I started tapping into that people learn different ways, but for me that works. And yeah, it has created opportunities, as you say, and I can also testify in my own journey where, being in that motion, you meet people, you see things, and there is lessons, and obviously I get better with time that you don't always have to just jump in to the deep side to learn how to swim. You can go to classes, but you need to step into the pool. Get into the water first, and then before you just go straight into the deep end.
Yeah, true. Because I think there's people who want like absolute certainty that this thing is gonna work, and sometimes I think it's like maybe it's a personality thing. There's people who wanna calculate everything to the decimal and round it off. So that's the number.
That's the
And then there's people who like give me an average. Oh, it's 1.5. Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I think I've learned to sort of live with uncertainty, to say, I've got an idea.
That is true.
Because I remember once upon a time, I think it was 2018, 1970, somewhere there. Me and the guys, there was something we need to attend in Durban. We didn't have any money. I was like, comrades, let's buy the bus ticket. We'll see there.
Yeah.
Didn't have any money. We landed in Durban.
Yeah.
And we made means. I don't know how, somehow. But we slept somewhere.
You see, yeah. And I think it's those forces that play a role.
Yeah.
They just happen to find you in motion, and then you must just be ready.
Yeah.
And it also happened with me with the one business that with a friend of ours wanted to get. So like, this guy's selling a business. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I don't even have the money, student budget. I'm like, I'm gonna bid for this business. Bid, pitch, he likes it, sold. Signed the contract. I'm like, where am I gonna find this money? But then made the means. But now to look at it holistically, I can say that the business was paid off somehow. And nothing sinister or nothing legal. But just being willing and putting in the work where the work needed to be done, and having that attitude. If had I not been like, I don't have the money, let me not get it, I wouldn't be where I am today. And there was no debt involved in this whole process. Which is something that I'm really grateful for, actually, if I can put it like that. Just having that willingness and taking that one risk. You never know what comes at the end of it. If you don't take the risk, you'll
never find out.
You have nothing to lose, basically. I think when it comes to being scared of certain things, I always challenge people, and I always have this idea. I'm like, when you're scared of doing something, try and get to the core of what the real fear is. And then, so there's this thing of like, I'm scared of failing this module. And I'm like, okay, you're scared of failing this module. So what happens if you fail the module? And always asking that, then what? Then you realize that at the end of the day, there's really nothing bad. Like, you fail the module. To be scared. Okay, Then what? You repeat the year. Okay, you stay behind 1 year, and then what?
Yeah.
You know, it's expensive. And then what? You just keep on pounding at the question of like, then what? And then you see, it is obviously unideal, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And then when you have that, you can also be open to see whatever opportunities that you find yourself in that situation. There's many instances where had this not happened, you wouldn't have that.
Yeah.
And then when that bad thing, if I can call it that, was happening at the time, you didn't know what was going to be the result of it, but only later do you realize that. And I think that's comes with taking risk, that you can take risk. Sometimes the risk you take will, something bad will happen. But
what's the worst that could happen?
The worst that could happen after that? The worst, like literally, it's like, okay, the worst has happened now, so anything from here should be better.
Because I think sometimes we really don't take time to understand our feelings and where they come from, and it's something that we also use when we are doing book editing, where we have a consultation with you to say, okay, let's hear you. Let's hear about you. Yes, you've got the book, but
I want to get
who is you and why are you writing this book? Then you get a sense, and someone's like, but I don't think the book is ready to be published. Then I'm like, why do you think that? I don't know. I feel like there's other parts that are missing. Why are the parts missing?
Yeah.
Ash, I feel like I'm not ready to talk about them. Why are you not ready to talk about them? Ash, I feel like people are gonna judge me. Who are these people?
You get to
like, my colleagues. Why do they matter?
So see, then they asking those tough questions.
Yeah, the deeper we go, they begin to realize, actually, this has nothing to do with the quality of the book, but this has to do with my fear of judgment from the people around me, my family, and what's so on.
It's like more of an insecurity that
insecurity.
That have.
Because I can tell you that we work with different clients on a daily basis. I work with someone who is in high school, and I would work with someone who is a professor at university. And I can tell you that you can find these people are struggling with the same thing, insecurity. A whole professor can say, but I don't think it's ready. And when you go deeper, you feel intellectual inferiority.
Yeah, from the judgment of his colleagues. And
Chief, you're a professor and everything. Writing shouldn't be difficult for you.
Yeah.
But funny enough, it is. And you find maybe a first year student somewhere. They're like, no, I'm passionate about writing. You give them this. They're like, yeah, no, I'll bring it tomorrow. So then you realize the whole human condition to say that people experience similar things in different ways because of the worlds around them. And sometimes the worlds are the people around you who you want to impress, who you fear, but then that one's going to judge me. It's going to say, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So, it's funny because I thought people who are at a certain level, whether in business or academics, they would be the easiest to work with. But sometimes you find that it's tough. Because
they're like, because of where I am.
Yeah.
They think people are gonna judge.
Yeah, and then you go beneath the surface, you realize, actually this guy is like 60 years or 50 years. He's made millions and millions. But deep inside, there's that little scared boy.
Yeah, that still exists within this
thing. Who was tormented when he was young, who was bullied and what's or not. And now you see it in the conversation. That they want to perfect everything. So, yeah.
That is actually true. That is a good observation that you made, that in whatever different stage and level of life, there's people that have similar struggles, regardless of status, or reminds me of a Bible verse. I'm not sure where, I think in James or something like that, says like, no temptation to you is uncommon to man. So it's like, whatever temptations you're struggling with, there's also probably other people that you're struggling with.
Yeah.
So I guess it's also that level of insecurity or fears that, people are struggling with, that, you find at different levels of status and where you've made it and where you've, still trying to aspire to be.
Because even for me, as much as there's like 2-3 books to my name, I still struggle with writing, and I still have insecurity when it comes to writing.
Yeah.
And someone will say, but then you've got books, they are prescribed at a university, whatsoever. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I still have insecurities about my own writing, even though I spend days and days helping people refine their work. And then comes my work.
She struggle.
I switch on the laptop. I'm like, no, there's something that I need to do.
Yeah, all of a sudden there's
something that I have
priority
to do.
that must
because looking at this thing that I've written, facing it on, my insecurities come back. You're not smart enough. This will never get the recognition. What's or not. Those things are always there. That's why for me now it's easier because I will write something. I'm gonna send it to the editor. Same time, I'm like, Chief, look at that.
You don't
so that delete. I find someone who can judge. Because I know if it's up to me, it'll never be ready for publication.
That is true. And then now when you're speaking about, even if you've written other books before, do you still have, or not do you still, but would you say you have that comparison and be like, will this one also be as good as the first two or first three?
Yeah.
Will I live up to the expectations that people have based on what I have produced? That's like a...
I have that. I have that, especially with this one, with Poor Folks. Because now I look at the book and some of the successes that it has. It has been prescribed for these programs at this university. And now I think maybe that's the reason that I'm not even trying to think of a sequel now. Because I want to distill my thoughts to say, should I write a follow-up to this?
To this one.
I don't want the current things that are happening, whether it's the successes or the accolades, to shape my writing to say...
Of the second one.
Yeah, it must go in according to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so it can be accepted there and there. So, there's always that to say, you know what, maybe this, maybe that. That's why I'm taking a break from this one. Maybe with that one, because that's on entrepreneurship. It's not even personal to me.
Yeah, so then you can have that.
Yeah, and that one for me, I'm looking at the current state of things. I'm like, entrepreneurship can be a gateway for many people who are coming from disadvantage.
Yeah.
So at this moment, I'm more passionate about writing non-fiction than I am about fiction.
Yeah.
But who knows? Some forces may come and take over. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Always be open to that and opportunities as they come.
Yeah.
I want to put you on the spot here and see, if.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. It's one of those. Let's see if there is still that scared boy in there, behind this author. It's just it's not a deep question. I just want to know. Basically, if you had all the resources, time, and land available, right, to build whatever you wanted, what would you build?
What would I build?
Yeah, like all the money, resources, time, and the land.
I think for me, my biggest passion, I think for the last few years, has been around education. So I think if I was to build something, it would have to be something to do with education and empowering people, offering an alternative education to people who can't go through the conventional way of education, a degree, a job, and all of those things. I think that's where at this point my passion lies in.
Sure.
So it would be building something, whether it's a physical structure or an institution, around education and empowering people. I think that's the one thing that I'm passionate about, and things within the arts, building something that exposes people who wouldn't typically get exposed to art, but showing them that you are in this art is part of you, taking art to the people. Yeah, because I feel like, especially the art side of things, it's very capitalistic by nature.
Yeah.
When you look at fine arts, you look at artworks and all of those things, they are for the elite.
Yeah, I mean,
but
to art gallery,
I'm passionate about taking those things to the common man. Hence, maybe even my book has been written from a common man's perspective to say, many of the people that I wrote about in this are not people who can write a book.
Yeah.
When you see those guys at intersections looking for employment, struggling.
Yeah, it's not someone,
you
can't say
they can write a book about their story.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I can be the one who tells the story from the other side because I've observed it. So I think exposing people to things that can essentially empower them in life.
That is very powerful. And I like the theme and the mandate of providing an alternative.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the conventional one is there, the process,
Yeah.
And then in it, there's also challenges and stuff like that.
There is.
So now, if you do something similar, you sort of adopting the same challenges as well.
Yeah.
But now, if you try and come with the idea of saying I'm going more of an alternative route, in some way or another, you could be solving the challenges and the problems that arise from the conventional one. Then people say, this is not working for me because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever.
Let me rather go to the other side.
But then there's this thing that Tokelo has built, and this is my opportunity, and this works for me.
Yeah.
In whatever aspect. That is very beautiful, man. Very, very beautiful. And now to my favorite question of the show is when you understand, what does the phrase or the words grounded and fearless mean to you?
Grounded and fearless. Grounded and fearless. I think when I'm looking at the word itself, grounded, for me means someone who is in touch and in tune, who is connected to something deeper. You know, you are grounded, because in order for a tree to grow up, it must be grounded. It must, as it goes up, it must further go down. So as you attain the height and everything, the more grounded you must be.
True.
So I think that's what I capture from just the word grounded, to say in order for you to grow to the biggest of height, your roots need to be further down deep in the soil.
True.
And if you are there, if you are that grounded deep within, then you can be fearless. It allows you to be fearless because you are connected to powers and forces that other people don't see. There's your forefathers, your ancestors, people who were here before you, because they shaped, who you've become, the opportunities and the privileges. So I think for me personally, I would say, even in my own journey, I'm trying to aspire to be as grounded as possible. To connect as deep as I can to those who've come before me. All the energies around me that have made me this individual. I think if you know your identity, if you are grounded, then I don't think anyone can tell you anyhow.
So then because of that, you have that fearlessness in you.
Because you know who you are and you know where you come from.
True.
Because I think as African people, we don't identify as individuals. That's why even in our greetings, but we're lekai, even though you are one.
It's that.
Lekai means
community.
Your people, your lineage. We don't say ukai, especially in Spedi. Tobela, lekai. Where are you? It doesn't make sense in English.
If you make a direct translation,
it doesn't make sense, but it's to say we are part of something that's bigger than us, that's been there before us.
True.
And so we need to acknowledge those things because they have shaped our identity and who we are. And that makes us fearless.
Wow, I like that. And I like when you were speaking of the tree and saying that the taller, the more the tree grows, the more the
deeper it must
go down to be strong, to carry the weight of that tree. That is a good definition of grounded and fearless. I like it. And then now for the Would You Rather section of the show, I always say it's like a personality review 101, just to see what
it's gonna expose us.
Exposure. But I think these questions will be interesting to hear your thoughts and what you choose.
Okay.
So the first one is: would you rather have to always say everything that pops up in your head, or never be able to say what you feel?
Sure. I'll go with the first one. I'd rather say everything that's on my mind.
But now there's no filter. So, like, if you see something, the first thing that pops up, you're saying it.
I'll explain. I can explain what I mean by my statement. As opposed to not, I think even for me, my personality, because I'm a creative already.
So you want to express
So expression
yourself.
is at the very heart of what I do.
Fair
even
enough.
from an entrepreneurship perspective, to say
Okay.
I'm an entrepreneur because I want to do what I want to do. I want to self-express.
Mm.
So taking my voice, I know
it's not gonna work. So you rather speak and have your voice and
I'll
deal
explain.
with the music and explain.
Yeah, I'll deal with the consequences.
Hey, you're brave, man. Yeah, you're very brave. Okay, the second one is: would you rather be personally fulfilled or professionally fulfilled? That's a deep one. I must say, yeah, no.
That's deep and complicated. Because for me, I don't think those two are separate.
So you see them as one.
Yeah, I think the whole reason I became a creative, a writer, and an entrepreneur was because at a personal level,
Who you are.
There's been this desire. I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
But to say, I want to determine my own fate and destiny. And me becoming a writer, me being self-published, and not going to a publishing house means that I want to define what kind of work goes out there. And then this shapes my professional well-being to some extent.
Yeah.
There's a guy, he puts this very nicely. The guy from Top Gear, the short one. Is it Richard Hammond?
The old or the new one?
The old one.
Okay, yeah.
From back in the day.
Yeah, OG.
Yeah. He said something, I'm trying to think of it or paraphrase it, where he says for him, work has been self-validation.
Yeah.
You know, to say his work validates him as a person and an individual.
Yeah.
So I think even for me, take away my work, there's no way I'm going to be happy.
Yeah, there's a level of your personality and who you are in
the work.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell you this, if maybe I'm giving a lecture somewhere or there's this really nice program that we did and I get back home, I can't even sleep because of the excitement. Even after...
It's still there.
Yeah, I think they call it flow state or something like that.
You stay in flow state.
So I stay there for like a day or two.
Yo, that's good.
You know, so take away the work, nothing's gonna bring me happiness.
Yo, that is amazing, Chief. I think it's like, you know, finding that doing things that you enjoy. You know, there's that famous quote to saying that, you know, if you do something that you enjoy doing, you'll never go to work a day in your life because it's just who you are. You don't feel like you're losing yourself by doing the everyday patterns of, you know, I'm going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even physical wealth wise, I remember once upon a time I was working somewhere and when I was about to leave or when I was thinking of leaving, I became sick. Flunyana, nothing hectic. But I remember there was this 1 week it was so hectic that I could barely walk. From flu.
Yo.
Because psychologically I wasn't in my proper mind.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy there. I was like, but then this work I'm doing here, it's not doing anything for my people or for people. Yeah, I come here, I work. The money is good and everything, but
it's not fulfilling you.
Yeah, I'm not even enjoying the money because personally,
some of the things like you worked hard for this money. You realize, but I must go.
You know, that's why I ended up leaving. I'm like, I'll find out what I can do. I left there, then I started a book club.
Yeah.
From the book club, then the publishing came. You know, so you can even think about it. You left an employment for a book club.
in this economy.
How do you even explain that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're very brave, you know.
And I think I was young also. I was like, I don't have a child. I'm not paying rent anyone.
Yeah.
My father will take care of me.
Yeah.
Going back. You know, but even that for me, because that moment revealed to me that if psychologically I'm not fulfilled or I feel like I'm betraying my real aspirations in life, there's no way that I'm gonna be happy, even physically so.
Yeah.
You know, so I've seen that firsthand. I was like, yeah, here, no. You know, so yeah, for me, it's deeply personal, the work. I wish it wasn't, because, yeah.
That means you'll be taking work home.
I do. I do.
Yeah. Because I mean, we always say, you know, when you go home, you must go home. You must leave work at work.
You can't. Not as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, but entrepreneurship is a glorified unemployment.
Yeah, it is. You work 24/7. You hear people say, I want to be self-employed, control my time. Essentially, what you're saying is you want to be your own slave.
True.
There's no freedom. You're a slave, but to something you like.
At least there's that element of like, at least I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
At least, yeah.
Okay. And then the last one is, would you rather fulfill your biggest regret, would you rather fulfill your biggest wish, or resolve your biggest regret?
I'd go for the wish. I'd go for the wish because I feel like in that regret, probably there's something that I've learned that I'm carrying with me on a day-to-day basis in the things that I do. So take the regret away, I'm not who I am today.
Yeah, you lose the lesson from that regret.
Yeah, and probably I'm gonna be in a different place in life. Maybe not even here.
Yeah.
Probably be doing something else somewhere. But the fact that I'm here at this moment, I'm happy with where I am, whether from a creative, professional life, for me that means way more than whatever I would have gotten somewhere.
Yeah.
So if you take that regret or that mistake, then I'm not here. Then I'm not happy. I'm not talking to you.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna fulfill the wish. Yeah. So we'll build that school you were talking about, that alternative.
We have to. We have to.
Yeah, no. I think that's very powerful. That the way you put it, like if you remove that regret and resolve it, you lose a sense of who you've become because of it and the lessons learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that could be something that a mindset you can have when it comes to regrets in life. Where instead of pondering on, I should have done this, I could have done this, could have done that, and beating yourself up for the regret or whatever mistake it is that you made, carry that life, the lesson that you learned with it, and then use it to shape yourself in a better way, and then you become a better individual.
Yeah, true. I mean, I was listening to J. Cole. I'm a huge fan of J. Cole. One interview, I don't know, with this other lady, and then he was talking about one of the recent albums. What's that album? Forgot the name of the album, but it was released about a year ago or two. It has The Climb, it has those songs. And then in an interview he said, part of the reason that I'm working extremely hard in hip hop is because I used to love basketball. But at some point later in life I realized that I wasn't putting in the hours. That's why I never made it to the professional league. So now he's using those failures of not having made it in a professional league basketball wise in rap, and now you can see the hard work he's put in.
You can see the result. I mean,
you can see his work to say, it was actually that he took that. He was like, with this one thing, I'm gonna put in all the effort that I need to put, and he's put in the effort,
and you can see the results. That is actually deep.
You can see the hours. You can see the hours, and I think with most people we do have that to say, I should have worked hard on that,
but now switch it and say,
I should have loved that girl
but
better.
Now I have this.
Now you find another one, like I'm gonna remedy my mistakes from Lebohang. I'm gonna treat you like a queen. So sometimes these things do happen to say, it was an unfortunate, okay, you move on. For some people it's vice versa. That unfortunate situation shapes their life downhill
from there, and they don't make a comeback. If that is sad, that is a sad one. But this has been very informative. I like that, the mindset and the change and the positive outcome we can get from a place of regret. That is quite good. I like it. You don't always see the positive in some situations, but if you open to it and actually being honest with yourself and be like, you know what, I messed up here. If I gave everything I had, I could have been there. But you know what, it sucks. I accepted it. This is where I am. Let me move and let me learn. So now everything that I do, I need to put in the work. I need to hustle.
Because I was listening to Piers Morgan on one of his interviews. He was saying, you learn more from mistakes than from successes. So even those mistakes, you must keep a diary and write what happened. And then you're able to understand, actually this is okay, I can take 1 2 3 1 2 3, implement here and prosper. Whereas with success, you're like, or I put this strategy and it worked.
You're just going.
But what if you were lucky?
Yeah, what if it's like you just had the right, the right time, right place, right moment, right people, that unfair advantage that came in.
True, but then with failure, you must seek to understand what happened, or was I just unlucky? That can also happen, but we do learn more from the failures.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I'm thinking now, back in the day, I was a sprinter, people don't believe me because of how I look, but I used to, I used to carry my weight. And, success in athletics, success can be up to many things. You could wake up on the wrong side of the bed and then it's just not your day.
Yeah.
I remember one day we had a top 10 meeting at Dax when I was in high school. And that day, the starting blocks, I was still fairly, I'd say, big at that time in high school. So I was a heavy runner. So then obviously now there's these people that stand behind your blocks and sort of give you that weight sort of when you push, this support. And there was a girl who was doing that for me. And I'm asking that it was 100 meters sprint. And I didn't really have a good start. So like that was I had like a good top speed, but the beginning of the races I usually like at the back and then work my way to the front and like that. So I'm telling her, are you gonna be able to support the weight? Are you ready? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. So obviously now we need to get ready. I'm like, okay, she says she's got me and everything. Yeah. So now on your mark, set, ready, and then that gun goes. So now I don't know how much I was weighing at that time, but I was also probably like 80 or 75 between those, but like there was some weight to it. And as I kicked off those blocks, those things flew back. Yeah. Like there was no support. Basically, she couldn't keep me. Yeah. And I remember I fell on the ground, got up and ran the race, and I came fifth. So in that sense, probably I'm not even sure I was gonna be number one or top three in that or whatever. Yeah. But the story I'm going back to is how you say, from success, you don't learn as much because now whoever the top three, the guys who got medals and everything, they could have been like, yo, I'm so successful. But there was an factor that played a role where I lost my blocks and I fell in the beginning of the race. But then now we don't know how that incident could have influenced the results. Maybe one of them maybe I would have become third. Or maybe I was gonna come first or whatever. So that's like a thing that I thought of now when you said, when you're successful, sometimes you don't learn as much as failures. But when you run a race and then you don't come first, then you realize, where was I running? You realize, when I was doing the 100 meters, I couldn't keep up my speed because I'm unfit. Now you've learned now something. You analyze it in depth. You realize, actually, the reason why I came this position is because I couldn't run the whole race full speed, and then you realize, okay, I must get fit. That's a lesson then. And then but if you'd won that race, you'd be like, I'm a good runner. I'm a good runner. I worked hard. So it's a nice thing that you're mentioning here, that the lessons that come from mistakes are more than the ones that sometimes get from being successful.
I mean, even in finance and investing, just look at it to say a lot of the advices people give are based on experience and what's happened in the market. So you realize, actually you are seeing this because of what has happened before. So the mistakes of the past and the trends of the past, but you can't analyze the market really going forward that much. You can, but then you have to be a special individual.
It's like, because of this and this and this, we can...
So there's also this luck traps, you are at a specific location, you meet someone, you sign a deal right there. You didn't work hard for this thing, but somehow you were just at the right place at the right time and you got this thing. Whereas other things, you had to go to like 15 meetings before you sign.
Like that, that KFC, Colonel Sanders.
So...
rejection and,
there's many such stories.
Well, TK, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, but it's just feeling such like a speed. Eventually all good things will come to an end, It has been such a pleasure to have you on the show. I enjoyed the conversation. Very informative. You brought a lot of insights and I personally have learned a lot, and I think the viewers and the listeners will really appreciate this conversation as well, and the nuggets of wisdom that you've shared with us today. In closing, if you have any last words to say to our beautiful people that are out there listening to you.
Yeah. No. I mean, thanks a lot for having me, and I think we've spoken about this for how long?
It was been
probably over a year. We've been speaking about it.
I was cooking it, man. I wanted it to be perfect. I was calculating.
Yeah, so that it's well done, not medium rare.
I don't want any mistakes.
Yeah, no, definitely no. I think it happened at the time it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, that is very true.
So yeah, man, it was a dope conversation, and you've given me things to think about myself.
Yeah.
Because I think we learn from interactions to say,
true.
I said this, why did I say this? Oh, he said this, why did he say this? So yeah, I think it's that iron sharpens iron.
True.
So I'm sure when I look back on this, I'm gonna have, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you've got a beautiful channel, and yeah, I hope people find some sort of, I don't want to call it inspiration, but they find something.
Value. Let's say.
Some sort of value, even if it's like one line that's said at the beginning, in the middle, in the end.
Yeah. True.
If people can just take one thing from this. Just one, not a lot. And if it can work for them, use it in whatever endeavors that they are in. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Beautiful people. Adios.
Ciao.